Morning. You know, I'm a little surprised Bert is moving. I mean, how could you be bored in the Antelope Valley with all that's going on a daily basis? I think that this is probably the most exciting community that we could possibly live in at one of the most exciting times. And you can feel it in the air almost. You know, when I first got elected, I said what I would hope and pray for Lancaster is that we be like the Mojave Airport. And that's really true. I really said that. Because if you go to the Mojave Airport and you go into that restaurant they have there, that coffee shop, you can feel the excitement in the air. You know, there's these incredible people who are incredibly bright, doing incredibly exciting things, and they're all around you. And it just crackles. You know, the whole air just crackles with it. And that is what I was hoping that we could create in Lancaster and in the Antelope Valley in general. And I think we're almost there. We're almost there. I think all of us are starting to recognize that we are in a place and time that is truly unique. And we are in a place geographically that is the perfect place to be in. You know, you talk to economists and they talk about where the growth is going to happen. And we are one of those places. We have transportation. You know, one of the things they did at Mojave Airport is they extended that runway so that A380 could land there. That means we have freight ability. We have it both at Palmdale and Mojave. We have the freeway and we have rail. That rail thing Stu was talking about is incredibly important when you're talking about bringing manufacturing in. And to have it right on an airport, there aren't very many places that have that. We are uniquely situated as a region to do wonderful things. Last week I read a book, and I got a lot of things out of the book. It's called Bursts, but one of the things I got is that if we had 6 months of data on any one of you, that like today you came to the fairgrounds, and when you left, you stopped at a gas station and we had the gas station, and then you went to wherever your office was or the store or whatever it was. Just the data points of where you went from the moment you left the house until you returned, we could predict with a 90% certainty where you will be tomorrow at any given time. I mean, think about the predictive value of that. And why is that important to us? It's important to us because it is pretty easy to predict how a community can grow and thrive and become magnificent. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. It's just simple statistical analysis of what the resources are, how you're concentrating those resources, and who you're attracting with them. Now, the one thing we know for certain is that if we want this community to be absolutely magnificent, we have to start focusing on the jobs that we want to bring here. You know, I was talking to Brad, the economist that's going to speak in a few minutes, and he said, "Why are you guys always talking about retail?" Right? Isn't that what you said to me? What you should be talking about is how do you get that engineering firm up here? Because that engineering firm is going to bring the shoppers that will attract the retail. You know, it's like we're putting the cart before the horse, right? That we have to start thinking regionally about what type of employers we want to bring here and what it's going to take to get them. And we all know what it's going to take. You know, everybody in this room knows that if we want to have great jobs, we have to have great schools. Not good schools, great schools. You know, there's been a little controversy because I raised that a couple weeks ago, and everybody starts writing letters and saying how our schools are good enough. Good enough isn't going to do it. It requires absolutely great schools. Not all of them, not even most of them. Just the choice when people come to see if they're going to place their factory or their business here is, are there the great schools available? Today I have Amber and Dawn. Are you here? Stand up. Where are you? Amber and Dawn, there's too many people I can't even see. They're here someplace. I'll introduce you if you want to meet them. They're two women that decided to build a charter school in Santa Clarita. And they did it by getting the parents who really were concerned about their children's education to commit If your child wants to go there, you have to commit to be fully engaged with their education. And as a result, in 2 years, they have a school where their kids are absolutely excelling. To walk into that school was just such a magnificent experience to see these kids that were so outgoing, confident, and happy to be there. And it was 2 women who decided that they needed a great school for their children. The people in this room have the ability to demand that in Lancaster and Palmdale and the entire Antelope Valley. And our children have a right to have the opportunity to have a great top 5% school in the nation that they can choose to go to. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of good schools that other kids whose parents do not want to commit to their education can go to. This idea that we have to have equality in every school is killing us. We're not going to have too many Bert Rutans come out of those schools if mediocrity is the norm. We have to fix that. And I think we all know that. But the amazing thing is, we all know that right here in the Antelope Valley, we have the ability to. We don't have to bring anything else in. We don't have to bring any more money in. We don't have to bring in one teacher. Those great teachers are already here. All we have to do is reallocate the resources and make that the absolute demand of what they have to produce. And when we do that, this valley is going to thrive in ways we have never dreamed of before. And it brings the jobs, the good jobs, the jobs where people can go to work, stay there their entire career, retire there, and feel like they've had a life that was worth living. But first we have to attract them. And we know, all the science tells us, it's one thing that attracts them. You know, we're doing really well for the economic downturn we're in. Palmdale is thriving in many ways. Lancaster is thriving in many ways. And in spite of us, in spite of ourselves, we're kind of doing it in a cooperative way. You know, we don't mean to be cooperating. We don't mean to be symbiotic, but we just are. You know, I really don't want to see another mall built. We got a mall. Why would I want that? You know, it makes no sense. We will live or die as a region, and we should continue to build this valley as a region. But what we really need to recognize is there is no governing structure for us as a region. In fact, you're it. You know, the Antelope Valley Board of Trade is really it. And it's not a governing board, it's just a group of people that want the Antelope Valley to thrive. That is something you all ought to start thinking about fixing if you really want this region to grow. We have to figure out what are regional issues that should be decided regionally, and what is the government structure we should have to do that. Because right now, our symbiosis should not be an accident. It should not be in spite of ourselves. It should not be a byproduct. It should be the goal. And I think that us as political leaders, we fail miserably because we're unable to accomplish that. It's not going to get accomplished until you folks say, you know, we're tired of you guys screwing around. You guys have got to start acting as the region you are and start taking care of us. And as soon as you start doing that, people will respond. Is it going to take some time? Certainly it's going to take some time. And the interesting thing I find about it is that me or the mayor of Palmdale aren't going to be here when it's done. I mean, it doesn't really even affect us, you know, because it takes 4 or 5 years for something like that to develop. You know, I'm 60 years old. I'm not going to do this much longer. I don't know how long he's going to do it, but I'm not going to do it much longer. It's for different people. It's for new leaders. But what we should be doing is laying the foundation for them to do it. It's been an exciting year. Everybody has seen what's happened in Lancaster. You know, what really has happened in Lancaster is somehow the city staff of Lancaster went to the Mojave Airport and got infected. I mean, that's really what happened. You walk into City Hall now, and there is an excitement every single day. I don't see people waiting at the counter because nobody wants to take care of them. I don't see people with these long, sad looks on their face looking at their watches. You know, the biggest problem we face in the City Hall of Lancaster now is they keep wanting to work for free, meaning, you know, they're supposed to work 8 hours and go home. I keep telling them, we're going to get sued, you know. We can't have people working 15 hours a day even though they want to, but they want to. And we actually had to put in controls to make people go home and stop working because it's exciting. Bert, Dick, isn't that the way it is in Mojave, at the Mojave Airport? Those people don't want to stop working because they're engaged, they're thrilled. And look at what happens when they are. 16 new businesses, $100 million goes into Lancaster Boulevard in an economy that is crashing. I mean, it was the impossible, and it was all the city staff that did it. And then they let me take credit for it, so it's a wonderful place to be mayor of. Thank you. No, I forgot. I got carried away. I do want to talk about what's really happening. One of the things about this region you all know is we are the solar capital of the world. We are geographically located. We have the best elevation, best air quality, best geographic coordinates to produce solar energy in the entire world. It's just an accident, a freak accident of nature that we get to reap the benefits of. And it's a wonderful thing for us in this time. It is probably the most exciting thing happening in the world today, where you can actually start producing more energy than you can consume just by putting stuff out for the sun to look at. I mean, that's really all you're doing. You're sticking something out and the sun shines on it, and you produce more electricity than you consume. In Lancaster, KB and BYD produced the house that does that. It produces more electricity than it uses. The only place in the world that's happened. KB is going to be rolling out in the next couple of weeks a plan that'll show you how that is going to start sweeping the country, because it just makes so much sense. But the most exciting thing, and before I get there, I want to say one concern I have. We have to recognize that transmission lines are the only obstacle to us being the solar energy capital of the world. You know, we could produce all the electricity that could power the Southwest. We really could, right here. The entire Southwest of this country could be powered by the sun and the solar energy produced right here. That's the capacity that we have. But if we don't have the transmission lines to send it someplace, it's worthless. It's meaningless. We have to safeguard those transmission lines. We have to recognize, are we going to be the solar capital? And if we are, we have to safeguard the transmission lines for that purpose. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce you to one of the most smartest people you ever get to meet, who has come up with an idea. This is Lex Hessling. He's a better businessman than a shoveler, but he's out of New York, Wall Street, incredibly bright businessman, but he came up with this remarkable idea he's going to tell you about, how you can make solar energy, use it to produce products that could be sold today, and they'll gobble them up. And I'm going to let him explain it to you. But he is planning to put thousands and thousands of acres under solar panels right here in the Antelope Valley. But he's done it in a way, an amazing way. I love this guy. He's not quite Jesus, but he's going to save us in many respects. In that next to each one of those fields is going to be a factory. And it's going to be a factory that employs a lot of people. And he came up with a way to do that he's going to tell you about now. Ladies and gentlemen, Lex Hessling.
Thank you so much, Rex. Is there a clicker here? It's really a pleasure to be here. And every time I come over that mountain range and drive into the valley, I get a really good feeling about what we're doing here and what's about to come. Before I begin, I want to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Paris for all that he's done for us. Our success here is in no small part due to his revolutionary vision for making Lancaster and the Antelope Valley the alternative energy capital of the world. Sorry about that. He's an exceptional leader. And he's making this a reality by helping companies like ours navigate the process to get shovels in the ground and get our plant started. His love for this city and everything about Lancaster is evident in everything he does. And from the first time I met, I could see that the mayor is not your average politician. In fact, he's way above average. He's a successful businessman and attorney, a committed public servant, and a dedicated philanthropist. I meet with a lot of mayors in my business. In fact, I met Mike Bloomberg in New York and Sam Adams in Portland this week. And I'm confident in saying that Lancaster is very lucky to have this extraordinary leader at the helm because he's a thinking man and he acts on his thoughts. He sees that a shift to alternative energy is not just about creating jobs and boosting tax revenues and improving the quality of the air, but also about making Lancaster the catalyst for positive and necessary change throughout the rest of the world. And that's a big challenge and a big charge. So this is very appealing to me as an investor. I'm a founder of a company that was started to, or at least seek to change the world. And I'm pretty pleased to have this partner in our green initiatives. And I'm honored to be welcomed here in Lancaster. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mayor. This morning, I'd like to tell you about who we are and how we're different than other energy companies, why we chose Lancaster, a little bit about our solar plants, and a few key areas to be involved in this rapidly changing field. So, who are we? Beautiful Earth, or BE as we call it, is a energy generation and services company that's devoted to sustainable energy. And for us, that really means things that don't burn, like solar and wind, even hydro. Beautiful Earth prides itself on being the cleanest, greenest, sustainable developer out there. And it may sound corny, but we actually founded BE to change the world. I started my career in project finance, financing traditional gas-powered power projects. And I realized along the way that we could actually do the same thing and actually improve the world. And that's really a great thing to get up in the morning and think about. At Beautiful Earth, we've chosen to commit our lives to making more and more clean energy. And as Rex said, to growing and investing this business, and attracting other businesses to come and use our clean green energy and what they do. So there's a real multiplier effect to what we're doing here. We're not just a solar company, but we're bringing in other companies that want our clean green energy to make green products. As you can see, BE is it's a privately funded firm. We're founded in 2008. We're a utility scale developer, headquartered in New York. Run our Americas group out of Newport Beach and Asia out of Tokyo. And also, we are very involved in the communities that we do business in. We've relocated people here to the Antelope Valley as well. Andrew Williams is our Director of Development. Andrew, are you here? Can you stand up? It's Andrew Williams over there. Please. Andrew lives here, and he lives this business day in and day out, and he's available to meet and speak with you anytime about our projects. Okay. What's our market niche? Well, it's fairly simple within just power generation. We chose the 20 megawatt space because we wanted to do deals that have a minimal impact, and we want to build a lot of them. We have about 24 projects in our pipeline now. We only use commercially proven technologies like PV. We have our plants constructed by experienced EPC contractors. We sell that power to credit-worthy off-takers. And we work closely with local stakeholders and governments to give them what they need. And we're really different from a lot of the other solar developers you'll meet here in the Valley for a number of reasons. Number one, we only develop minimal impact sites. Okay, we don't build on virgin land. And we look for example, fallow agricultural sites, industrial properties, brownfields, things like that. We're actually long-term owners, so we purchase the sites that we build plants on. We're here for a long time, and our plants are engineered to minimize waste to zero. It's a very revolutionary concept. They require little water. And for solar, we use state-of-the-art modules that have no environmentally negative materials. When we go to then we go to the next step in our business model, which is what we call eco-integration. And what that means is attracting other green companies to locate near our plants and to use our green energy in their manufacturing processes. Okay. So why did we choose Lancaster to build in? Well, this map sums it up. First off, the solar resource is really one of the best here in the country. You can see we're just on the westerly edge of that red area down there where we have the highest number of kilowatt hours of solar a day. Additionally, this area has great existing power transmission infrastructure, and that lowers our project costs and help us get our projects online very quickly. Lancaster really is business friendly, and they have the vision to make this the alternative energy capital of the world. In fact, there's about 3,000 megawatts total of solar and wind planned to come to this area over the next few years, and we think that goal can be achieved. BE broke ground on our first two solar projects at the end of last year, DELSER 1 and DELSER 2. Which are being constructed on fallow farmland at Avenue H and 90th Street West beside SC's DELSER substation. These projects cost about $160 million. They're PV projects. They're two phases of 19 megawatts. You can see from the timeline that we're moving very quickly. DELSER received unanimous approvals in the permitting process. That was very much because of the city of Lancaster and the hard work and the professionalism and the expertise of people in there and within the city, people like Robert Neal and Brian Ludicky and Jocelyn Swain and all the planning people there who really get solar and know how to make it happen. I'd also like to thank Gavia and AppBot for introducing us to people in the area since we're new here. DELSER will bring a number of benefits to the community, not the least of which is local jobs and contracts. We've already started building roads on the project, and every contractor we've hired so far has been local. Since this conference is about navigating change, let's look at the areas we perceive to be critical for the future. We're involved in the downstream side of this business as well, which we define as these industries which choose clean green energy for the future. For us, we're investing in electric vehicle, EV infrastructure, charging stations. We received the first 100% electric vehicle in New York, the little Mini E, which is built by BMW. And then we built a completely sustainable, off-the-grid charging station to fuel that car. That's pretty unique for New York. Had it for about a year and a half. It's a real car. It goes 100 miles an hour, gets 150 miles on a charge. It's never used a drop of gasoline. And in fact, all of its fuel comes from the solar energy collected right on the Brooklyn waterfront in the middle of New York City. We recently donated that charging station, which you can see, to the new Brooklyn Bridge Park, which is also charging its security and maintenance vehicles there. In the future, we believe that change will be made by leaders who embrace change, like Rex Paris and Lancaster, and in places where they're now building some of the world's most advanced and first net zero cities, which generate as much electricity as they use. One such city is in the UAE, another location with a great solar resource just like the Antelope Valley. This is probably one of the most stable cities and countries in the Middle East. And those are becoming few and far between for everyone who saw CNN this morning. This is an area that's actually surrounded by oil fields. And it's refreshing to see that they have chosen to start making the shift away from oil and into sustainable energy. In fact, in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the UAE, which is kind of the sister city and the rival city to Dubai, which you hear all about, they're building an entirely new ground-up net zero city called Masdar. Masdar, like Lancaster, has a vision to run the city with sustainable energy and to attract companies and institutions which support this strategy. They've already attracted the International Renewable Energy Agency. They built the first renewable energy with MIT, and they're attracting foreign clean tech companies like GE. And we're taking steps to align Lancaster with leading cities devoted to clean tech, such as Masdar, to create partnerships that will change the way the world thinks about and uses energy and introduces green technology. At the end of the day, what does all this talk about green mean if the energy used in making the product is dirty energy made from a coal-fired plant that's blowing soot into the air 24 hours a day? Let me give you an example. You go into a store and you buy a bottle of cold tea. The bottle's recyclable. The tea has fair trade pick leaves. The water is spring-fed. They maybe used organic paste on the label. It's a really good product. You drink it, you feel good about it. But is it really green if it was made with dirty energy? I don't think so. And that's what Beautiful Earth Group is all about. We believe that the world is wising up to dirty energy. And in the future, we believe that companies, especially those in the green sector, will want to make sure, maybe even pay a little more for clean green energy, like our beautiful energy that we're going to be producing right here in Lancaster. That's the future that we're working towards. I hope you'll join me once again in thanking Mayor Paris and Lancaster in bringing the future one step closer to the present through alternative energy. Thank you so much.
I get to introduce the next person also, and I'm excited about introducing him. A couple months ago, we had a new businessman come to Lancaster, and we had a discussion with him in City Hall, and the discussion was pretty much, we want Lancaster to be a partner with the businesses that are here to the extent that we can figure out ways to help push whatever you're selling, to bring customers into your door, to make it a team effort, because we both benefit. You know, the business gets the business profits and we get the tax profits. And we have to improve our tax base. But we were pretty much at a loss on how to do it. You know, we're not businessmen. I'm a lawyer. You know, they run cities. We were pretty much at a loss. And until Lou Gonzalez came to town. And Lou Gonzalez, who was the #1 Saturn dealer until Saturn went by the wayside with the rest of the half the country, came to Lancaster with the Chevy dealership. And it's only been 2 months. And that mall is now doing business in a way no one else in the country is. It is an absolute fact that if you come to the Antelope Valley Mall and buy a car, you will get the lowest price in the country. The lowest price in the country. And it's absolutely guaranteed. And the city's guaranteeing it. If anybody falls down, we'll make them write the check. The lowest price in the country. And that's just one of the things he did. We're now doing a marketing approach to marketing using cognitive science principles in a way that no one else in the world is doing. And that's all because of Lou Gonzalez in 2 months. Imagine what's going to happen in the next 2 years. Lou, come on up.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, these are some really, really tough acts to follow. I do want to say a couple of things. Very proud to have met the general at the base, and somebody else I always wanted to meet, and I haven't had a chance to shake his hand, but I'm going to definitely do that, is Mr. Rattan. Well, you know me, I'm a car salesman, and I'm going to share a little bit of our story with you today. First of all, I want to tell you how honored I am to have an opportunity to address all of you. And I'm confident that the business knowledge and success stories that we've heard here today, I knew we'd hear plenty. I'm sure they're even more abundant with some of you that haven't had a chance to come up here and get nervous like I am talking to all of you. Over the past few years, I believe most of us can actually say this: we have had to navigate change, period. If you did not navigate change, you were going to get in trouble business-wise. My own personal story starts with financial woes that General Motors suffered, which ultimately led to the bankruptcy of one of the largest companies in the world. The Saturn brand, which we owned in Palmdale, was terminated by General Motors in the restructuring of the new GM going forward. This was a severe blow to not only my family, but to our employees and to thousands of Antelope Valley residents who had purchased cars from us at our Saturn store. Fortunately, because of the great success our Saturn store had over the past 10 years, we were rewarded by General Motors with the Chevrolet franchise. Thousands of loyal Antelope Valley customers helped make this happen. To say that I had to get comfortable with change, ladies and gentlemen, is an understatement. You know, the word change has a great definition, two definitions. I looked this up when they asked me to come up here and speak. I don't do this. But I had a couple of weeks to get ready. And the definition of change is to make radically different or to give a different position, course, or direction to. I've found over my years in business that I have had the courage to change, to think outside the box, as they say. I've learned to welcome change. You know, many people fear change. It's the unknown. I was talking to my office manager, and I was telling her about this, and she used the word, well, you know, it's the unknown. I says, you're right. That's what people fear. You know, a wise man once told me many years ago, he says, Lou, the definition of fear is false evidence appearing real. Some of the words that I heard Mr. Rattan speak earlier about how he encouraged his team and how he tried to have a fun area, a fun workshop, and that, you know, it was refreshing to hear him say how he was having fun. And you know what? That's what we try to do. We need to have some fun. You know, Mayor Paris, you know, gave me a lot of credit for some of the things that we're doing in change in our auto mall. I came up with some of those ideas, but a lot of those ideas were a team effort with all the dealers that are in the mall, and I'll share a little bit more about that in a moment. I do want to tell you guys a little bit about who Lou is. You see, I grew up in a very small town in Northern California with a population of 864 called Arbuckle, home of the Pierce Bears, my football team. You know, right out of high school, you know, everybody was farmers or ranchers, and, you know, my dad was a railroad worker, so I went into the United States Army and served my country. Shortly thereafter, when I was discharged honorably, I came back to the little town, and there really wasn't much there for me, so I came to Los Angeles. Wow, you want to talk about navigating change. 864 people, there were 864 people on the block I was living in. So in 1978, I got a job in the automobile business at a small auto parts store called Jules Auto Parts. Like I said, I was fresh out of the Army, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in life. But a few years went by, and I realized that I needed to get a job that had benefits and maybe a medical plan and some sort of pension. And I was very fortunate to get a job with a company called Robertson Honda in North Hollywood. And I spent many years there working in a variety of capacities. Worked in the parts department, worked as a service advisor, and then later on, I guess you could say I found my niche when I started selling automobiles there. In 1988, I moved to the Antelope Valley and bought a home in East Lancaster. Used to drive through the valley here. I was an avid dirt bike rider for years and years and years, and we would drive in from the San Fernando Valley and head out towards Mr. Rattan's turf out in Mojave and ride our bikes, and we had a great time. Man, things have changed in the 23 years that I've lived here. In 1992, I helped the Robertson family and the Emard family open up what is now Robertson Palmdale Honda. This was a great opportunity for me. I never dreamed in a million years that I was going to have an opportunity to actually help somebody open a business and not have to invest a nickel. We started that deal from scratch. In early 2000, I had an opportunity to invest with a local dealer that many of you folks probably know or have heard of, which was Holiday Buick Oldsmobile, which was owned by David Dow. My wife and I decided to take every nickel we had, cash in 2 401k plans, and invest in a small General Motors dealership that was being run by a great dealer. He had a great reputation. He didn't have a reputation of being a high volume guy, but what David Dow and Holiday Buick had was a reputation of service to the community and to their customers. It was a great road and a great stepping stone for our next move, which was Saturn. And by the way, 1 year after we invested every nickel we had, General Motors announced the termination of the Oldsmobile brand. Thought to myself, wow, what did we do? I left the job with a high-paying six-figure salary, no investment, and we went and put everything into this business. But I got to tell you something, these were the stepping stones in navigating change that I had to get used to. And I got to tell you, without those, I don't think I'd be who I was today. I don't know if we would have got through this last hurdle, which was unbelievable. In the spring of '01, I found myself in a position to become the president of Saturn of Antelope Valley. Let me say, to take the leap from employee to employer was unbelievable. This business that we invested, again, my wife Joyce and I, every nickel we had was broken. It had opened in 1995 and it never made a dime. As a matter of fact, it had lost close to $4 million. People are going, Lou, you crazy? And I want to mention one of those people that encouraged me to make that leap. And he's in the audience here today with his wife, is Tim and Sandy Martinez. These are local entrepreneurs, local valley people who have Sandy's coin washes. You see them around town, five-star contractors. And Tim and Sandy have had the LA Times distribution route here for many, many years. And Tim was one of those people who encouraged me. He says, go for it. You're a great salesman. You can do it. Something else I wanted to share with you folks is during the past 2 years, my team of employees has also had to understand how to navigate change. For over a year, our team had to trust that we would somehow find a way to keep them all employed in a very challenging economy. I believe it was the constant communication that we shared with each of these employees that gave them the confidence to hang in there, even though they knew Saturn was dead. I just kept telling them, hang in there, we're going to figure this out. One way or the other, I'm going to navigate us through this, and somehow we're going to do the right thing. Today, our original team of employees from our Saturn store are proud to be a part of one of the fastest growing Chevrolet dealerships in all of the United States. Today, we truly understand the importance of navigating change. When I look out at all of you folks here today, one of the things that I noticed when I came in was that it was exciting for me to be greeted by what I call a lot of my children. A lot of those plate frames inside that parking lot out there said Saturn of Antelope Valley Chevrolet, and it was exciting. I want to thank everybody in here who's helped to make our dream come true. It was quite a journey. I want to tell you that if a guy like me with no college education, straight out of high school right into the U.S. Army, can navigate change and embrace it and not fear it, I want to encourage all you. There's many business owners in here, and you know what? We've all gone through some really, really tough times. But you know what? Forget about the tough times. It's the positive that we're going to find in this valley, which I owe this valley everything. This Antelope Valley is now my home. I've lived in the Antelope Valley longer than I lived in my original hometown. So when I look out into the audience and I see people that I've recognized that have been political leaders and civic leaders and employers, it's just exciting for me to actually can say that my wife and I and my two sons that are here in the audience today can say that we're part of that. I want to close simply with this because I was told some of the guys ahead of me went a little long-winded and we got behind schedule, so I'm going to hurry you guys up. I want to say as I close that I'm proud to be a resident of the Antelope Valley. And I want to thank everybody for being here today and giving me a few moments of your time to hear my story. I want you to go home with some encouragement that things are going to get better. We cannot look backwards. As we say in my business, it's toast. We cannot go backwards. We can only go forward. Forget about it. So thanks again. I want to say may God bless all of you and may God bless America.